already. Me and school. Me and school, we tore up in here. Yeah. I brought school with me. I'm already.
Baby. But if these young girls, if us as grown women, if men don't reach out and get the help that they need, they gonna feel what I'm feeling.
What would you do if the person who promised to love you turned into the very person who would destroy you? Imagine waking up every day knowing that someone who once cherished you now watches your every move. Someone who controls you, traps you, and twists love into something dark and suffocating. For lled Sarah Hasty, this was her reality. For over a year, she lived in fear, and yet she was determined to hold on to her dreams. Dreams of independence. Dreams of a better life. But as the days passed, those dreams began to slip away, replaced with the constant, looming presence of someone who thought he owned her. She tried to escape. She tried to break free. But when love turns into obsession, escape doesn't come easily. The walls around her closed in, and each day, it seemed like there was no way out. A woman with so much to live for, trapped in a relationship where freedom was more dangerous than staying. What would it take for you to leave someone you thought you loved? To fight through the overwhelming fear and still find a way to survive? This is the haunting story of lled Sarah Hasty, a mother, a dreamer, and a fighter. Someone who thought she had a future, only to lose it all when she tried to break free from the very person who promised to love her forever. The man who should have been her partner became her nightmare, and she paid the ultimate price. Lled's life ended in the most tragic way. But how did it all go so horribly wrong? How did the love that was once so beautiful turn into a deadly obsession? Was there something she could have done differently? Or was it only a matter of time before this toxic love story turned fatal? lled Sarah Hasty's tragic end raises haunting questions. Questions that should never go unanswered. Could the system have protected her better? Did anyone see the warning signs? What can we learn from her story so it doesn't happen again? Stick around as we uncover the chilling details behind the murder of lled Sarah Hasty. How the love that should have kept her safe turned into the weapon that would end her life. You won't want to miss what happened next, and the shocking truth behind the person who took it all away. But before we dive deep into the haunting details, take a moment to subscribe to City Crime Tales and hit the notification bell so you never miss a real-life crime story. lled's story deserves to be heard, and by sharing it, you might just help someone else escape a similar fate. You won't want to miss this one. Stay tuned as we dig deeper into the life of lled Sarah Hasty, what happened in the months leading up to her tragic end, and how we can all help prevent these kinds of stories from happening again. lled Sarah Hasty was more than just a victim. She was a dreamer, a mother, a fighter. Born and raised in Groesbeck, Texas, she wasn't always defined by the tragedy that would later claim her life. No, lled was someone who always believed in the power of hard work and self-determination. In a small town like Groesbeck, Texas, opportunities didn't come easy. But lled was different. She wasn't waiting for life to give her a break. She went after it. From a young age, she knew what it meant to strive for something better. While others settled for what they had, lled worked hard to ensure that her future would be something more. Her journey started in high school, where she was known for her energy, ambition, and kindness. She wasn't just a student, she was a go-getter. Every goal she set, she pursued relentlessly. After high school, Jalen didn't wait around for life to happen. She earned her pharmacy technician certification, dedicating herself to the task with the kind of drive that inspired everyone around her. While many her age were figuring out their path, Jalen already had a vision, and she was chasing it. She wasn't just working a job, she was building a future. Jalen knew that education, hard work, and self-reliance were the keys to achieving her dreams. And that's exactly what she did. Soon, Jalen found herself working as an assistant property manager at the Cardinal Apartments, where she became a beacon of positivity and dedication. Her colleagues remember her as a woman full of energy, someone who treated her tenants like family, and her work like a mission. Her approach to work wasn't just about completing tasks, it was about making an impact. Jalen had this natural gift for making people feel heard, understood, and valued. Whether it was a simple lease signing or helping tenants resolve issues, she gave it her all. She believed that everyone deserved to feel like they mattered. But Jalen's world wasn't just about her job. She had a daughter, her beautiful 3-year-old girl, Kensley. Jalen's love for Kensley was fierce, all-consuming, and everything she did was for her. She worked long hours, juggling a demanding job and motherhood, all to provide the best possible life for her little girl. At the end of each day, no matter how tired she was, Jalen's love for her daughter was the one constant in her life. Kensley was her heart, and everything she did was with her future in mind. It wasn't about riches or material possessions. For Jalen, it was about building memories, helping Kensley experience a life full of love, joy, and security. Every step Jalen took, she took for Kensley's future, dreaming of a day when her daughter would grow up knowing she was loved unconditionally. But like so many stories of hope, there were darker forces at play. Despite her bright exterior, Jalen's life wasn't all sunshine and smiles. Behind that vibrant smile, there were shadows, dark, ominous shadows that no one could have predicted would consume her life in ways she never imagined. No one could have seen it coming, not her co-workers, not her family, and certainly not Jalen herself. In the midst of all her dreams and ambitions, a dark cloud was quietly gathering on the horizon. The very person who should have supported her dreams, the person she loved, was about to become the very thing that would tear her world apart. What happens when the dream you're building becomes a nightmare? When the life you've worked so hard to create suddenly seems like it could slip away at any moment? Can anyone ever truly escape the grip of a love that's turned toxic? Jalen didn't know it yet, but she was about to face the hardest decision of her life. A decision that would ultimately lead to the most devastating of consequences. As you watch Jalen's story unfold, ask yourself, what would you have done if you were in her shoes? What would you do if everything you loved started to crumble around you? Would you see the warning signs? Would you have been able to escape? Stay tuned as we unravel the heartbreaking journey of Jalen Sarah Hasty. A journey full of courage, heartbreak, and ultimately tragedy. This is a story you won't want to miss. Her life changed forever when she met Kenardo Bates. In the beginning, things seemed perfect. He was the man who made her believe in love again. He was there for her during late-night feedings and baby milestones. Together, they dreamed of a future with Kensley by their side. They looked like the perfect family, didn't they? Kenardo was the kind of man Jalen thought she could build her future with. He was there during those intimate moments, those milestones that every new parent cherishes. He held their daughter during late-night feedings, whispered hopes and dreams about their future. At first, it was everything Jalen had ever wanted. But slowly things began to change. What once felt like love began to feel like something else entirely. Something darker. Over time, the man who had once encouraged Jalen to be independent, someone who cheered for her success, started trying to control her every move. The change was gradual, like the slow turning of a tide. At first, it was just a comment here, a suggestion there. Maybe it was a question about who she'd been texting, or why she was wearing that outfit. But soon it became suffocating. His desire to know where she was, who she was with, even what she was thinking. It started to feel like prison. What starts as love can often spiral into obsession. And what was once a supportive relationship began to feel like a trap. Kenardo didn't just want to be with Jalen. He wanted to own her. He wanted to control every aspect of her life. He demanded answers to every question, monitored her interactions, and even controlled who she could speak to. It wasn't about keeping her safe. It was about keeping her isolated, keeping her under his thumb. And the most painful part? Jalen couldn't see it at first. She thought he was just being protective, just being the partner he said he was. What began as concern soon turned into control. He convinced her that only he could protect her, only he could be the one to guide her. And little by little, Jalen started to believe it. She started to feel like she couldn't breathe without his permission. His presence was constant, his influence ever looming. At times, she felt trapped in a relationship that once made her feel alive. Can you imagine how that feels? To slowly realize that the person who was supposed to love you is now suffocating you? You're no longer living for yourself but for them. The love you once felt slowly begins to twist into something darker. Something you didn't recognize but couldn't seem to escape. Jalen knew something was wrong. Deep down she felt the walls closing in. But like so many women in similar situations, she didn't know how to escape. You think, it'll get better, right? You hold on to the hope that the person you love will change, that things will go back to how they were. But every day the grip tightens. She tried. She fought. But with every passing day, it felt like the walls were closing in tighter. The abuse wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The fear of leaving, of what might happen if she tried, paralyzed her. Was it enough to just keep trying? Could she escape before it was too? Doesn't it make you wonder how many women are out there right now in this exact situation? How many lives could be saved if we all just paid closer attention? Jalen's story isn't unique. There are countless women living in fear right now, trapped in relationships they can't easily escape. Some people see the warning signs and turn away. Others simply don't know how to help. What would you do if you knew someone was in this kind of danger? If you knew a friend, a colleague, or a neighbor was living with this kind of fear, would you speak up? Would you intervene? Or would you turn a blind eye thinking, it's not my problem? We often look at situations like Jalen's and think, that could never happen to me. But the truth is, it happens every day right under our noses. If you're watching this, I ask you to think about how often you ignore the subtle signs of control or manipulation in your own life or in the lives of those around you. The difference between life and death, safety and fear, is often in the details. Do you know what those details look like? We all have a part to play in preventing these tragedies. And sometimes it's not about grand gestures. It's about being aware, being present, and offering support when it's needed most. After months of fear and emotional abuse, Jalen finally found the courage to leave. She broke up with Kenardo. But leaving him wasn't just the end of their relationship. It was the beginning of her nightmare. Kenardo didn't take it well. In fact, he saw it as a declaration of war. His obsession grew to new heights. He stalked Jalen for weeks, showing up at all hours of the day and night. He parked his car outside her apartment, watching her every move. A man who once promised to love her now couldn't accept that she had chosen freedom over him. Every time Jalen left her apartment, she felt his eyes on her. Every phone call, every text message, every door she opened, it was like he was there, lurking in the shadows, just waiting for the moment to strike. Neighbors at Heron Lake Apartments saw it too. They noticed Kenardo's car parked outside for hours, his figure silhouetted in the dark. Some were uneasy, others concerned. They reported the strange behavior to both the building management and the police. But somehow, despite these warning signs, nothing stopped him. No one could keep him away. He was like a shadow that Jalen couldn't escape. The police responded to the calls, but Kenardo was always one step ahead. He knew how to slip through the cracks, just enough to make people question whether he was truly dangerous or just a man upset about a breakup. But to Jalen, the danger was real. She knew it was only a matter of time before the stalking would escalate into something worse. And despite all the bravery it took to walk away from him, Jalen was starting to realize that simply leaving wasn't enough. She wasn't safe. Jalen did the unthinkable. She bought a gun. A desperate move to defend herself against the man she once loved. But it wasn't just about protection. It was a sign that she knew something far worse was coming. She couldn't shake the feeling that her life was in danger, and she needed something to level the playing field. Can you imagine being in Jalen's shoes? Having to buy a weapon just to feel safe? To go to sleep every night wondering if tomorrow would be your last? Imagine the weight of knowing that the person who once promised to protect you, to love you, is now the one who might take your life. Every phone call, every knock at the door, every moment becomes a reminder that you're not in control anymore. You're trapped in a nightmare with no clear way out. Jalen's story is more than just a tale of fear. It's a reminder that we all have a part to play. If you're watching this, you might be the difference between someone staying in a dangerous relationship or breaking free. Don't ignore the signs. Don't wait for the worst to happen. Would you stand by or step in? Would you recognize the signs of abuse, the signs of control before it's too late? What would you do if you saw someone going through what Jalen was experiencing? Would you stay silent or would you speak up? It's not always easy to intervene. Sometimes it's hard to know what to say or how to help. But the truth is, small actions matter. A call to the police. A conversation with a friend. Speaking up when something feels off. These moments of intervention can mean the difference between life and death. If you see the red flags, don't stay silent. It could save someone's life. Leave a comment below and tell me what you would do if you saw these signs of abuse. What do you think can be done to help those who are trapped in relationships like Jalen's? Let's start the conversation and make sure no one has to live in fear. August 12, 2021. A seemingly ordinary day in Columbia, South Carolina. But for Jalen it would be her last. She walked into what should have been the safety of her home, only to be met with an unimaginable horror. Kenardo had been watching her for days, and today he was waiting. Kenardo somehow gained access to Jalen's apartment. Whether he had a key or forced his way in, we'll never know. But what we do know is that he was there, waiting. The man who was supposed to love her was waiting to take everything from her. And when Jalen walked through that door, she walked into the trap he had set for her. What exactly happened that afternoon? Was there a final argument? Was it a desperate plea from Jalen to end the madness? We'll never know the exact words that were exchanged before the violence erupted. But what we do know is this. Within moments of returning home, Jalen was shot multiple times while sitting on the couch that was supposed to be a place of peace and comfort. That same couch where she had once laughed with friends, where she had shared quiet moments with her daughter, was now the scene of her final breath. Kenardo wasn't done. After ending Jalen's life, he turned the gun on himself. But unlike Jalen, he survived. He survived. And with that, the life of the woman who had been his everything, the woman who had borne his child, who had trusted him with her heart, was taken. When a life is taken, nothing remains the same. The world that once was vibrant and full of possibilities is now forever dimmed. And for Kensley Jalen's young daughter, the world she will grow up in will never be the same. Can you imagine what Kensley will grow up without? Her mother, her protector, her source of love and safety, was taken by the man who should have been her father. The man who should have been her shield turned into her mother's executioner. Can we really afford to ignore the warning signs any longer? Jalen's death is a painful reminder of how easily violence escalates. A reminder that every time we let these signs slide, we are one step closer to tragedy. But Jalen's death doesn't have to be in vain. We can still make a difference. This story cannot end in silence. We must raise our voices for those who can no longer speak. Jalen's legacy must live on through us. Share this video, subscribe and share her story. Make sure people hear it. If you're watching this, you might just help someone who is living in fear. Don't wait for the worst to happen before we start listening. When the call came in about a water leak at Heron Lake Apartments, the firefighters who responded had no idea they would be walking into a murder scene. They had come prepared to fix a simple plumbing issue, but what they found instead would change their lives forever. When they opened the door to Jalen's apartment, they found her lifeless on the couch. Kenardo, badly wounded but alive, was found nearby. It was immediately clear what had happened. Jalen had been the victim of domestic violence, and Kenardo was the one responsible. The investigation revealed a chilling history of stalking, abuse, and control. Jalen had tried to get help, tried to leave. She called the police, she reached out, and yet the system failed her. Despite multiple wellness checks and police visits to her apartment, Kenardo was never arrested. Jalen was never fully protected. The system failed Jalen. And every moment we don't act, we fail other women like her. How many more victims are out there right now, living in fear, hoping someone will notice? Are we really doing enough to protect those who are most vulnerable? What can we do to change the way we respond to these kinds of situations? If you believe we can do better, leave a comment below and let me know what you think needs to change. How can we ensure that women like Jalen are protected? How can we make sure this never happens again? Jalen Sarah Hasty was more than just a victim. She was a daughter, a mother, a friend, a fighter. Her family now continues to fight for justice, for awareness, and for change. They will not let her story fade into the background. Her legacy lives on through the people who loved her. And it will continue through her daughter, Kensley, who will grow up knowing that her mother tried to escape the very man who took her life. She will know that Jalen fought for a better future, even in the face of overwhelming fear and violence. Jalen's story is a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked domestic violence. It's a call for better protections, better responses, and a society that listens before it's too late. If this story moved you, don't stay silent. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Speak up for those who can't. Let's make sure Jalen's story isn't forgotten. Let's make sure her death was not in vain. So what can we do? How do we ensure that the next Jalen doesn't become a statistic? How can we prevent more lives from being stolen by love turned toxic? Share Jalen's story. Raise your voice. And join the fight for change. There's so much we can do, and it starts with awareness. But awareness isn't enough. Action is everything. Thank you for watching City Crime Tales. If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on other real-life crime stories. Until next time, stay aware, stay safe, and always remember, no one deserves to live in fear.